Life is full of hard truths and uncertainty about hard truths. Things don't always go the way that we'd hoped or planned they would. And even if everything is going well, we know that it doesn't necessarily have to stay that way. That's why it's crucial to find ways of living well alongside hard truths and uncertainty so that it doesn't swallow us up. In this video, I will share a powerful way of relating to hard truths and difficult thoughts, especially the ones revolving around disease, getting older, and the awareness that our time is limited. Hey everyone, and welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and I've recently been diagnosed with skin cancer. I know that I'm not the only one who is making or has gone through such an experience in this self-leadership learners community, so I want to talk about it with the hope that it'll be helpful to all of you watching this. I feel like we often don't talk enough about the hard truths of life, and that creates a sense of being alone with them for each one of us. So I want to connect with all of you over our hard truths and share something that's helpful to living well with them. Getting diagnosed or having someone you love be diagnosed with a serious illness is a really hard and painful experience to go through. It takes a while to at all process and register the diagnosis. And there's so much going on in the inner world during that time. On a practical level, a whole new category of new things to take care of and to do opens up. For me, doctors sent me here and there. I added new appointments to my calendar. And at the same time, it didn't even feel real that this is happening to me. My dermatologist informed me that the skin cancer would be easy to remove, and after that, I wouldn't need to worry about it anymore. It's the less threatening form of skin cancer. It's likely by the time you're all watching this, I'm just about to get it removed or already healing from the operation. But the not worrying part is easier said than done. When someone goes through such an experience, there's no YouTube video or book long enough to cover everything that can be said about such an experience or everything that is helpful when going through such a situation. What I chose to talk about in this video is something that addresses how we can deal with the worries, uncertainty, and thoughts that are connected to the hard truths of life. This is based on science and on what I've found to be very helpful to me these past few days and weeks. I don't know what the hard truths are for you, but I've never met anyone who didn't have any. And I think one of the hardest parts of dealing with the hard truths of life, disease, getting older, death, is the uncertainty of it all. For me, that was one of my main burdens after getting diagnosed. This thought, what's next? And it was also one of the main or first thoughts of my physicians. What does it mean for someone to get diagnosed with skin cancer at 36 when the average age of getting this is 60? What does it mean for her future? I am at a higher risk of getting these kinds of diagnoses because of a medication I'm taking for an autoimmune issue, which explains it all a bit more, but doesn't make it less worrisome. The truth is, neither my physicians nor I will know. I can't know what exactly this means for my future. It's just uncertain. Of course, I'll do everything I can to stay healthy, but that's not a guarantee for health. And I know that even without any risk factors or prior diagnosis, there are enough other reasons for people to get worried about their future. Our mind can start fabricating all sorts of horrible possible scenarios of what our future could look like. Hard truths are often connected with a sense of losing control, when maybe it's more a becoming aware of things that were never in our control in the first place. And then that can instigate the mind to start looking for ways to regain control. My husband and I, for example, started thinking about vitamins that I should maybe start taking, or switching up my skin creams so that they'd be healthier. And up to a certain point, that's completely natural. It's a natural response of the mind, and also helpful when it addresses the things that are within our control and motivates us to take care of that. And of course, I will continue wearing sunscreen, wearing a hat, and covering up my skin. At the same time, increasing my sense of control over the situation by taking more vitamins or switching my skin cream will never make these worries that are connected to a hard truth, hard situation that I'm going through ever go away completely. So the question is, how can we deal with that part of the mind that is activated even more when we're facing hard truth? The incessant worrier, the horrible future predictor. The thing about getting a hard diagnosis or realizing that you're at a higher risk for something with greater oomph, like it just happened for me, is that the usual strategies that are common to deal with anxiety and fear, they don't really work anymore, or they don't work as well. When we're confronted with fears, what is often recommended is to see how the thing that we're afraid of is very unlikely, or that we're exaggerating the impact it would actually have if it were to happen. But in front of a hard truth, you can't just say, well, there is no risk, or I'm over exaggerating the risk because doctors just told me that there is a risk. And you can't say that I'm exaggerating the impact that this would have on my life, because with disease, the impact is potentially huge. So when dealing with hard truths, we need an additional set of tools to deal with these thoughts. Of course, there's always a portion that is an exaggeration or a cognitive distortion that we can detect and then shift the way we think about it. But with hard truths, well, it's a truth. It's not just a distortion. And if I would just tell myself, you have nothing to worry about, don't think about it, my mind will not buy that. It will feel like denial and a slap into my mind's face. It just doesn't work to try to talk it away or shove it away, because it's an awareness and it's connected to a reality. A method that helps with these worries and the whole arena of thoughts that go along with a hard truth is something called cognitive defusion. This is when, instead of fighting in that arena and trying to make the truth untrue or go away, or living in that arena and being dominated by it for every second of our lives, we learn to also step out of that arena. And this is something which is called stepping from the thinking self into the observing or noticing or experiencing self. If there's a lot of exercises out there, and I can also share some if you're interested, where we can practice switching from thinking to living and experiencing. And that has a lot to do with being present in the moment, connecting to our bodies and our sensations and our deepest intentions and the values that we want to bring into every moment. This method will give you distance to your worries and empower you to live fully and wholeheartedly. the mind has a constant commentary. And if we don't practice this skill, we will always be stuck in that commentary and really identified with it. And it will be dominating our every moment. And I think it is important to be aware of that commentary, to work on that commentary, to change the narrative. I talk about that so much on my channel and everywhere else, my newsletter, my courses. At the same time, we also need to learn to sometimes just step out of that commentary. And this is a skill that is getting more and more recognition in the academic field, in the mental health professional field, because it is so powerful. And gives us the real break that we're looking for, a healthy break from worries. It's noticing thoughts when they come as thoughts, like boats drifting on a river, and if they're not helpful, to not get onto every boat and be carried to wherever that boat is going. So that was the whole thing supposed to be in a nutshell. Maybe it was quite a big nutshell, but I want to unpack it now. How can you go about practicing this? And the first thing that helps is to give these worries that are connected to a similar theme, and they come from this hard truth, to give them a name. I've named mine the What's Next story. Of course, this can be anything you want it to be, this name. Other suitable names connected to hard truths might be the horrible future prediction story, or the my time is running up story. So whenever mental images or thoughts pop up that originate from this story, you can now recognize it and name it and say, this is the what's next story, or this is the my time is running out story. That helps us step into the awareness that our thoughts are just thoughts. They're just mental pictures that can't harm us right now, in this moment. Next, ask, is this thought or mental image helping me right now? Is this helping me be who I want to be, live my life how I want to live it? Or is it pulling me out of my life, out of the present moment right now, and into a sphere of worries? Sometimes thoughts are helpful. Sometimes they help us live our values. They remind us of things that we want to take care of that are within our control. Sometimes it's a healthy processing of new information. But sometimes thoughts are also attempts at predicting a future that can't be predicted, and an unnecessary burden for that moment. If you notice that there is nothing helpful in this thought, then allow it to drown away and softly fade out into the background like a radio that's playing in the distance. And then shift your focus onto the present moment, onto what you're doing right now, the interaction you're having right now, your sensations, your emotions and feelings. Connect to the present moment, to your experience in the here and now, and live this moment guided by what's important to you in your heart of hearts. For example, recently I've often had the thought, you have cancer, run through my mind. Sometimes accompanied with mental pictures of what the cancer looks like on my skin, or its name, basal cell carcinoma. And then sometimes the story starts, what's next? And part of this is my mind processing, and it's natural and healthy. And there's just no point in trying to force these thoughts out. The best meditation master couldn't. And the healthy part also needs to have room. I need to let this flow. sometimes I even check in with my mind to see if it has anything more to say about this, and just let all the thoughts flow and talk about it with my friends and family. And that's been a really important part of my processing this. It's natural for someone's inner world to be in turmoil when they're going through something like this. And grief will come up, fear will come up. And it's really important not to try and suppress this and try to block it out, make it go away, or judge it as bad. At the same time, it wouldn't be helpful for me to become dominated by thoughts about cancer, the what's next story, and images of skin cancer. I don't want to be dominated by the worrying part of the mind. I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing little else except worry about cancer. That just wouldn't be helpful. So when I notice that my mind gets caught up in the what's next story in an unhelpful way, I allow it to fade away into the background, like a softly playing radio. And in that way, I gain some distance from those worries and recognize them for what they are, words and pictures in my head. If I tried to ignore it, it would probably bother me even more. If I tried to fight it, these thoughts would probably become more and more present. That's what research says anyway about thought suppression. So instead of doing that, I just allow it to fade into the background and then step into the observing, noticing, experiencing self out of the commentary of the mind. And then I live that moment guided by my values. For me, these values that I want to bring into every moment are connection, love, empathy, compassion, kindness. And I can do that in every moment. Living these values doesn't depend on me being fully healthy or knowing what the future holds. And of course, that applies to everyone. Your values may be different. We're all different, and different values resonate with us. But we can live them in every moment, no matter the circumstances that we're in. That is, after all, what counts. The awareness and intention that I bring into every moment, no matter what I do. And that could be riding my bike, grocery shopping, or talking to all of you. I really hope that you got something from this video, that you find access to the tools that I shared, and that you feel less alone and more connected to others, knowing that we all experience and go through hard truths. I wish you all the best with your hard truth and send you lots of love. Remember to subscribe if you're new here and you want to keep learning about self-leadership. If you're interested, you can also check out my weekly email newsletter. I just wrote one on values, and I think it has some really great thoughts. So check that out. Till next time, take care, and remember to step out of the unhelpful commentary of the mind and into the observing, noticing, and experiencing self.